Okay, welcome back to Blueberry Wolf Bridge, aka No Intro RPG. And if you've watched any of my previous content, you may be in the dark in regards to my position on the quality of the work of erstwhile RPG game designer Noah Patterson. You may be saying to yourself, Cable Guy Incognito. You've talked at length about this micro chapbook RPG, micro RPG, call it what you will. Listen, if I've been indiscriminate in my naming protocol, don't blame me. Listen, but you might be saying to yourself, how do you feel about the work of Noah Patterson? Are you a fan? Do you like it? We can't tell. I'm all in. I like this micro chapbook RPG, micro RPG, micro sci-fi RPG, micro RPG in the bathroom. It's a new spin-off series, micro cookbook RPG. Guess what? You're in the kitchen with Dinah. Rule number 1, you roll a d20 to generate the size of your kitchen. Rule number 2, you roll a single d6, slice that baby in half, round up, it's the number of doors out of there you can run out of if you light the place on fire. And or Dinah turns into a werewolf if you're playing by the alternative horror kitchen rules. So it's a supplement. It's your game. It's your kitchen. Play with it as you want to. This is going to be, I have gone into, so this started off, Noah started this off with a simple concept as the world was going into upheaval during the pandemic. A simple rule set that in 2020, the micro chapbook RPG, it fit on like 2 photocopy pages and it expanded out from there. I got into the game late, really kind of discovering this stuff, as of a couple of months ago, and have been buying everything that I can get my hands on, downloading everything I can get my hands on, and basically kind of putting it together. I will put in the link, the description box of this video, a video that the creator of this system has made basically recently, fairly recently, talking about the history of the system and kind of bringing people up to speed. But even with that, given the fact that this is drive-through RPG stuff, this is self-publishing stuff, this is supplements that is not like 50 pages. This is not Wizards of the Coast publishing a $50 hardback this is 2 pages being offered up sincerely for pay what you want on drive-through RPG. And a lot of this is great stuff. A lot of this, 2-page supplements, can take your game in these wild, crazy directions. But it's like the history of punk rock zines back in the day, trying to find these old demo tapes, trying to put together, who's got a copy of this, friggin', white labeled 12-inch, you know what I mean? Like, there's no map for a lot of these territories. And, trying to put together the history of how these kind of rules because you can see how things got added in and things got taken out. you can see how there were things like the house rules, where there was a supplement that was published of suggestions that people had sent in to the creator Noah Patterson, and he published some of them, as a simple little supplement, and you could see how some of them made it in. Now, here, let's do this. So, what I want to do was review this thing, Hive of Bone, this starter adventure game. So, okay, so look, it starts off, let's look at this. So, if we're looking at a sci-fi game like Hive of Bone, this simple set that started off as a fantasy series, he took this rule set and took it into all these different directions. And then, so here's Bug Ship, which is a sci-fi version of the rule set, but it's still just on 2 pages. But it's still this basic. Look at this simple rule set and how it works. This micro RPG system that Noah came up with, man. Yo, it ain't chess. But if you see a master checkers player play, you'll say to yourself, yo, you can do a lot with checkers and you can really play. What is gotten in the bullet points and the basics of the role-playing game experience with stat allocation and balance of characteristics and how that interplays with the randomness of dice and the simplest of elements, and you don't achieve perfect balance, and there's a lot of mechanics that do not get replicated, obviously, but the things that Noah's able to get into the system, I apologize. I've looked, because I surmise that Noah Patterson has preference pronouns. But Black Lady Jesus is my witness. I have looked, and I'm not aware that I have seen them indicated. So I'm going to go just default with just keep on saying Noah Patterson. And we're just going to keep on hoping that I don't offend. So here we go. Yada. I'm not going to go over the rules again because we'll be here all day. They're simple. You get the oh man, it's so good. 4 basic stats. It's a roll under system. I use what I basically call 1.5 rules. They're up to 1. Noah's up to 1.75. Listen, yo, I'm bad at this. I'm disorganized as heck in my. There's so much to cover here because there's so much beauty in the world. Listen, in this system, I love this system so much. Here's how I'm going to do it. Let me focus in. I can't. Tippy Teotig, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Let's take this. Here's the in a sci-fi setting, the rule set goes like this. If you get the rules you can get in a simplified, ultra simplified version like on Bug Ship, where they appear just on 2 pages, including the character sheet. And you're going to get the rules in a simple, stripped down, the simplest way that you can get. And you may get a lot of confusion because they're the simplest way that they can be. You're going to get an armor list, you're going to get an item list, but you're not going to get a robust one because there's not a lot of pages and space to play with. Now that's where things start. Now, as people played and as suggestions came in, things got expansive and things got expanded out. And then things got moved on to where Noah Patterson came out with these things. I think this is the order that things went generally, to where you got these things that were called these core or deluxe core rule books. We have one called Death in Dino Valley. Here we have one called Blood for $1. That's a Western setting that can be as either kind of a straight Clint Eastwood style Western setting, or you can do it as a kind of Weird West setting. You could put aliens in there, or because basically the rule set. This is why I like it so much. The rules are so simple. The combat and area rules, generating rules, are so simple that Noah's work testifies to this. You can do post-apocalypse. You could do sci-fi. You could do Weird West. You could do zombies. You could do zombies in the Weird West. Then the friggin' Toxic Avenger, Nazi hunting, ballet dancer shows up. If it can have a combat statistic and hold a gun in your imagination or not hold a gun in your imagination, it can work. So it went to these deluxe core rule books, and the settings got evolved. Some rules evolved for the generations of the settings, and some rules got expanded out to fill in some blanks regarding the worlds. And here we have the sci-fi version of that. But still, what I would say is that some issues, may have still existed. What I would say is one of the things that was kind of, in existence is that you really just had two viable builds, strength and dexterity. A wisdom or a charisma, would these stats, have a use, but especially at the outset for a beginning character, they really don't have a use. But especially in the beginning, because in the beginning when the rules are first come out, there's really no magic to speak of. Even in the fantasy setting, there was no magic to speak of. And there really, when we get to the deluxe core rulebook for the sci-fi setting, there's no real magic or psionic setting or powers in the sci-fi deluxe core rulebook RPG as I could, there is none. I feel fairly confident. Sometimes I waffle at making definitive statements because I don't want someone to show up I don't want to look like a jerk and like I got something wrong, and have someone show up Noah Patterson shows up in the comment section. That is false, sir. You know what I mean? Number one, my pronouns are clearly, labeled on blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And number two, it clearly says on page number 3 that, da-da-da-da. And I'll be like, you know what I mean? No, I feel like an ass. Blah, blah, blah. But whatever. Anyway, then they go on to the starter adventure games. Now, this is where things get really cool. But this is the thing that I love about this system is that, and going back is because it's like archaeology. Because there's an evolution that happens. Because sometime after the deluxe core rulebooks come out for the sci-fi and Death in Dino Valley and the Westerns thing, and every little book and every little game has some little rule that gets tried, it seems like, or some little substat, or some little new character that shows up, or some weapon, or stat, or something, or dynamic, or monster trick, or room dynamic, or gimmick. So that really what makes collecting every little thing to me so interesting. And I think that owning these things in hard copy is worth it. Because I think these things are so cool, and we'll get into it. I'm 13 minutes into this thing. I'll do a 5-part review on each of these friggin' games, because I think these games are so friggin' cool. Every aspect of them, I think, are just so friggin' cool. The value for the dollar. I can't believe so many of these have these glaring things that this creator is so desirous of not ripping people off, that so many of these things are emblazoned with, stop, don't buy this book, because you can download these rules for free. Now, granted, so many of these things are repetitive, because the spreading of these rules, I think, is such a good idea, because these rules are so worthy of being spread. Anyway, being repetitive, which sucks. I apologize. Where was I? Oh, now, around the time that these starter adventure games come out, and here's one for the sci-fi setting called Hive of Bone. Here's 4 more that came out for the fantasy setting. Caves of Leaf and Stone, Pit of the Imp Queen, Upon an Icy Peak, and Through the Frosted Wood. Now, I know that there was a magic system that was suggested and that came out. There was a book of water magic, air magic, and there was a very interesting magic system that was tried, that was published as a supplement on Drive-Thru RPG, but that was not, was not available for, hard copy. And that did not make it into these starter adventure games. But a version of magic ended up in these starter adventure games and ended up like kind of a psionic version ended up in Hive of Bone, which is what makes me say to people that if you have the microchapbook Sci-Fi RPG, it's worthy of getting Hive of Bone, because I think it's the only, it's not, because this doesn't exist in Curse of the Flying Dutchman, and it doesn't exist in any of the other smaller two-pager sci-fi games, but it's only in Hive of Bone that I've seen. You literally have a subclass, essentially, that I think really only exists in the sci-fi place here. And that's this. It also exists in the fantasy setting, which is basically it makes the wizard an actual wizard. And here it makes the tech guy who's going to be proficient in wisdom, which means they're going to roll 2 dice for wisdom checks. But in addition to that, it essentially gives them this Digitech power. If you are a tech, you will learn 1 random Digitech power from the chart below. Roll 1d6 to see which one you learn. This basically gives them, effectively, creates a magic power system or a psionic power system within this sci-fi universe. In addition to providing you with a rule set and a world to explore, using the random dungeon generation system that's standard to the micro RPG. So if you get this adventure system, this game, which is basically $5 if you buy it off Amazon, get the hard copy, or just a couple like 75, like probably less than $1 if you get it off Drive-Thru RPG. Not only do you get the dungeon that you can use with any micro RPG system, or you get the character generation system right in it, you get technically more of a robust character generation system than you get in the actual micro chapbook sci-fi RPG. You also get the rules for dual wielding melee weapons, which was an addition that was in the starter adventure games, like in Hive of Bone for Sci-Fi, and in the Cave of Leaf and Stone and the other starter adventure things that I'd shown you for the other ones, but were not in the deluxe core rulebooks yet. They were added after the deluxe core rulebooks, but before they made the jump to basic edition, I guess, for this one. Now, here's what's interesting. When Noah Patterson made the most recent update, taking the rules from what he was calling 1.5, which was, I guess, deluxe core rulebook, to 1.75 basic edition. But it gets confusing because I think basic edition rulebook there's also advanced rulebooks, which I also have copies of, they're all compatible. All these things you can do everything with. And he says, like, it gets confusing because he has arguments to make. They have arguments. Noah has arguments. I don't want to use the word argument. Noah's constantly saying that his newest systems are, like, the most compatible with each other. Like, the newest thing he's got this Midnight series. He's like, that's me. That's on me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm using the right pronoun. I don't know. Forgive me if I'm using the fuck me, or don't. I don't know. Blah blah. Oh, hey. Screwing everything up. Noah Patterson did not choose to include the psionic subclass, for want of a better term, in the micro sci-fi RPG 1.75 rule set. Noah did, however, choose to include pronouns. FYI, and in case you're curious. Which makes me know that there's got to be a pronoun. Like, I really wanted to cover my hiney on that one. And I know. Now, here's what else is funny about this. And I swear to crap Christ almighty Jesus, that if YouTube gives me a problem with uploading this video based on length, I will freak out. Because there's a story to tell about this. I don't know if I should tell this story because the whole review will become like a 10,000-year-old thing. Like it'll become a 5,000, it'll become like a million-year video. No, it'll become a thing. I thought, no, it'll become like, it'll be a nightmare story. Like, whatever, we'll save it for whatever. Listen, they did not include the psionic skill set in the 1.75. So, technically, if you want the Digitech power set, its availability is in Hive of Bone. Okay? In addition to that, what you also get in addition to that, you also get the dual wielding melee rules, or like the first instance of that in the sci-fi setting, for those who are, want to follow the history of the rules updates for Micro Chapbook RPG historians. And then you also get the smashing Hive of Bone setting itself. Okay. Now look. Oh, we'll do this. We'll do the setting and then I'll double back to the blah, blah, blah. Because there's a thing what I want to do with the thing. Hold on. Because I'll explain. Yada. My dumpster fire of a main channel before I abandoned it because you just have to sometimes. The world must, you have to just burn it. The past. It's just, just goodbye. I used to always talk about the 20, 25, and 30-year nostalgia loops, about how things in the past are just always constantly coming back and repeating themselves, usually on these pretty regimented, like I said, 20, 25, and 30-year feedback loops. And boy, oh boy, does this thing ever bring me back. Because the points that it hits, right on the money. So if we are in calendar year 2022, the years that I'm looking for to see, hitting us back and spanking us back in the face on the nostalgia loop are 2002, 1992, and 1997. Dig these computer graphics. I love it. Am living for it. What are the cultural reference points? The cultural reference points are the Borg, assimilation, Event Horizon, cyber horror, cyber zombies. Your protagonist, you are alien. It is H.R. Geiger. It is cybergoth. And I am here for it. When you get one of these micro chapbook RPGs, you are getting an invitation to play with the rule set. The rule set is so easy to understand. The character generation is so easy to grok and understand. The dungeon generation is so easy to grok and understand. The combat, the item list and item shop stocking, the monster generation and stocking is so easy to understand. You quickly ascertain how easy it is to take these things and freak it in your own direction. So the one thing I would tell you is that if you are an experienced micro chapbook RPG player, the one thing that I would warn you is that you can be kind of set up for a loop here, because when it goes through the basic rules, it explains the basic rules traditionally in regards to how the boss appears. Meaning, traditionally, the way that the game is played is you will roll when you generate the dungeon randomly, you will roll and generate the enemies randomly. There'll be 6 types of enemies that can be produced in a dungeon, the 6th of which is a boss who will only appear generally once you've seen every other instance of an enemy at least one time. In this particular scenario, I don't want to spoil anything, but in this particular scenario, that won't happen. There's a substitution. However, that substitution is not explained in the regular rule set. You'd have to pay attention to it. So if you're used to the regular rule set, you might go through it and then hit the first instance of doing the special rule and then be like, oh, because technically when you do the special rule, one type of enemy will no longer appear. And if you haven't seen them yet, you might say to yourself, but wait, then when will the boss show up then? But then if you read then you'll get it. But you might be set up for a little bit of a spiggity-spoo. Also, this just happens. The rules don't explain everything perfectly. Hold your own hand. Think a little bit. But hey, I want to go back to the subclass a little bit. Let's look at these psionic powers, and I want to talk to you about this. It's too bad that we didn't update. Maybe we'll come back and there'll be a supplement or an update for 1.75 that we're going to get that's going to take us and give us the psionic powers back. Because we know that at the end of the micro sci-fi RPG, once we 1.75 rules, that there are plans for our characters to be able to go anywhere basically in the kind of multiverse that they want to go, including worlds where there's heroes and supers. But I've looked all over this damn internet. There ain't no micro RPG heroes that I'm aware of, unless Noah Patterson is hiding something in some friggin' dark web somewhere, or that I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, but I don't think so. You know what I mean? So I don't think that come out yet. So, but I could tell you that there's psionic powers, and I could tell you this: role playing this scenario with a tech, you roll randomly. Even this, look at this. Willpower. You can spend willpower to redo rolls. But there's a Digitech power that lets you use willpower to generate willpower. Ballotech, which I'm assuming is some sort of balance reference, heals 1d3. That's roll a d6, have it rounded up, plus your wits, willpower. If my character's wits is a 5, so that's, you could spend 1 willpower point and potentially get like, you know what, like 8 back? What is this? What is my guy's? Yeah, like, right? That's nuts. Do you know what I mean? Oh, wait. No, so wait. I think. That might be OP. That might be why they may have undone that. But OP is okay. Listen, it's a solo role playing game if you want it to be solo. Now well, hold on. Now check this out. Madam Nimbley's Star Codex. Micro Sci-Fi RPG. This is Micro Chapbook RPG over here. On the Micro Sci-Fi RPG, it says Micro Chapbook RPG, and this is Micro Sci-Fi RPG. Okay. But anyway, check this out. We have some playable races. They're not balanced, but I like that. Why would races in the universe be balanced, right? You never think about that, right? But check out some of these things, and then you say to yourself, now, I know I'm not explaining these rules, but hey. So there's some of these things that if you combine it with the psionic powers of this tech class, the psionic powers, forget about it. Well, who was the one I saw? What was this? This gray-skinned Mercurian, plus one wits, plus 10 will. Forget about it. That plus that Ballotech power, plus some of the healing powers that you could have. Nuts. Or how about this? The Star Eternal, plus 10 will. Oh, plus 15 will, plus 15 health. That plus some of those Digitech powers. Unstoppable. Now here's the thing. You take that character, you could take that into any of these fantasy settings. How do you do that? Easy. You take your character sheet, and then you take the rules for basically, all you do is you take your character sheet, and then you basically take the dungeon room list and doorway list and monster list for any other place you want to go, and you go there. And then if you're solo role-playing, you want your sci-fi guy to go somewhere else, it's very easy. My sci-fi guy is somewhere else. Right? I never understood that. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I'm looking for a role-playing game system that will allow my... I need a role-playing game system that will allow me to do anything I want to do. Oh, gee, you want to... if only there was a system that would allow your imagination to do anything your imagination wanted to do. Oh, man. If only someone would come along and invent imagination. Jeez. Well, it's really easy to do. You know what I mean? I love this gaming system. This is great. And what I really love about it is there's none of this... It's the simplest thing. And it really gets through it, and it just becomes a meditative experience. Look at this. I want to show you some of these things. I just want to show you some of these, the sheets the data sets that just get generated. Because all that ends up happening when I play this game is this. It's a very meditative experience. I'm rolling these dice, making these notes, rolling these dice, making these notes, drawing these rooms, drawing these doors, making the dice, drawing the rooms, drawing the doors, drawing the enemies, slashing out the enemies, putting on their hit points, knocking down their hit points, cutting down the room, next room. Rinse, lather, repeat. If you're one of these people, you make squares on your doodles, you make those triangles that are interconnected, you make the swirlies. It's like that. You know what I mean? It's just a meditative experience. And what ends up happening, too, is also if you look like this, what ends up happening is you look down and you eventually see, hey, look at that. I drew a dungeon. You know what I mean? I didn't just, stare at a wall. I didn't, precipitate about, I'm going to die tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I drew a dungeon. I didn't watch TV mindlessly. I may have done something relatively mindlessly, but it wasn't as mindless as watching TV. Do you know what I mean? It might not have been, curing cancer, but it was not just watching TV. It's something a little bit better than that. So look, I love this system, and I hope my love of this system will continue on, and hopefully maybe generate some interest in you about a love for the system. I like this thing too, even though I play 1.5. I'm a bit of a classicist when it comes to the work of Noah Patterson. You know what I mean? Call me a purist, but no, you know what it is? Is that really I just started playing. And so I just got used to the six-sided die. I'm not ready to go up to the full polyhedral sets. There is a robust magic system in 1.75 fantasy. It's not that I think that the people are going to begrudge the fact that there's no magic in the sci-fi world, but hey, why not? I like it. Okay, folks, I love you. I really do. I hope you stay involved and stay engaged. Blueberry Wolfbridge to the 99th power. Celebrate the work of Noah Patterson. Check out the micro RPG system. If you check out Drive-Thru RPG, a lot of really, really great stuff there. Work by Noah Patterson. Very, very affordable to dip your toe in to take a look at it. Okay, a lot of people on YouTube demonstrating this rule set to let you know if you could take a look at it to see if it's something that you might want to check out. And again, something like this, if you've got a nerdo sci-fi guy, like an alien fan or gal or anyone in between, any binary, whatchamacallit, just anybody in your life who is like a fan of this sort of culture, who's like, even had an inkling in their past of being a role player or into this sort of thing, or might want to be into it, to give them something like this instead of the same old birthday card or nonsense gift, it really would mean the world to them. It really would, and a potential lifetime of enjoyment. Really, this stuff is great stuff, and it looks like the sort of stuff that we had as kids. And I think that that's not by accident. It has the look and feel of choose your own adventure. What's it? There you go. Forgive me my imperfections. Love me for my wants and needs. And I'll see you somewhere along the trials and tribulations of life. Okay? Until next time. Hopefully this uploads. Jeez Louise. Okay. Till next time.